My name is Helen Roberts, and I'm the school breakfast program manager for No Kid Hungry, North Carolina. I've worked closely with the two women who are next in our Inspiring Partners segment, and I'm really happy to introduce them to you today. First is Ilina Ewen, Chief of Staff to the First Lady of North Carolina. Ilina's here representing an initiative of the Governor's Office, the North Carolina School Breakfast Leadership Team. After Ilina will be Beth Maynard. Beth is the Executive Director of Child Nutrition Services for Cumberland County. Please, let's welcome Ilina first.
Good morning. I did not hear you. Thank you, Helen. I'm happy to see my boss, the First Lady of North Carolina, made it here in time so she can see if I am worthy of the role that I have been given. So again, my name is Ilina, and I want to share with you two brief stories about voice. We're here to talk about voice, and I've done a lot of teaching and tutoring over the years where I teach kids how to use their voice, both in writing and as advocates. I am that mom who has made her sons write to their legislators every year since they were in third grade. They pick a topic that is of interest to them, and they write to their legislators, and oftentimes when they get a letter written back in response, we go through it to make sure it has proper grammar and punctuation. So they will hate me for it, but I think they will grow up to eventually love me for this. So first, when I was about 12, my parents divorced, and I lived with my dad. This was unheard of in the 70s, and it was unheard of in an Indian family. My dad, being the stoic engineer, very serious man that he was, didn't know what to do with me. I was an emotional renegade of a child. I did not fit the mold of what a typical little Indian girl should be. And rather than squashing me, he embraced it. One day in 7th grade, he threw a book on my bed. The cover was a picture of the Mona Lisa, and it was called How to Be an Assertive Woman. My dad regrets giving me that book. Secondly, I just happened, as many children of the 80s have probably done, I pulled out my high school yearbook. Anyone else done that recently? I pulled it out from 1986, and there was a page in there where we all voted on favorite songs, favorite movies, memorable moments from the year. One of the things was most memorable sayings, and of the 4, number 2 was, "Shut up, Ilina." I take pride in this. I wear it as a badge. God gives us a voice, and we should use it. And I don't think that means that we have the answers to everything. I think it means that we know where to go, right? So after all this, I find myself an accidental activist. I have spent my entire childhood from when I was 10 years old and I first wrote a letter to Hamburger Helper because I thought their ad campaign was sexist, to where I stand today. I have been a champion for children's health and nutrition, for public education, for access to vaccines in the developing world, and lots of other things that I know all of you in this room and our First Lady champion today. So I'm in good company. You are my people. What I want to talk to you about is the program Helen mentioned that is our Breakfast Leader Institute. So who here ate breakfast this morning? Who here would have eaten breakfast if it wasn't served to you this morning? Okay, good, good. I love breakfast so much I usually eat it twice. We get up early in my family. I have sons who start their day at about 7:20 in middle school and high school. So I'm the one who gets up and eats. They don't eat breakfast. So there are a lot of kids who don't eat breakfast. They don't start their day. Also, I'm not very good at standing here still. It's very difficult to talk. I feel like I should move around with a microphone. How many take? Thank you. Yeah, this is so much better. I have a lot of energy. I can't just stand at a podium. So I have sons who want for nothing, and they don't eat breakfast. There are lots of reasons for this. It's early. Who is hungry at 6 a.m.? I mean, I am, but they're not. The rush for time. Teenagers would rather sleep than eat, right? I mean, most of us probably would say that. And then there's also the children who don't have food at home to eat, right? So there are lots of reasons kids don't eat, and we shouldn't be judging kids for that. And I want to share an anecdote from a teacher who said to some children in her class that poor people are lazy and they should go to the library and use computers to find a job. This is not trauma-informed teaching, is it? This is a teacher who should be here today. We need to take the judgment out of all the work that we do. We don't know anybody's story. Now, whether you want for nothing or whether you want for everything, you should start your day ready to eat, or ready to learn. See, that was Freudian. I said eat because it's almost lunchtime. So when I used to tutor, I always brought granola bars to my kids because I said, we're not just feeding your belly, we're going to fuel your brain. And it's just like Ms. Pittman said earlier. They work in concert. One doesn't work without the other. I'm going to call out somebody here, but I happen to work with somebody. When she hasn't eaten, she is hangry. She can be admittedly difficult when she doesn't eat, and this is a grown woman, and I'm not talking about the First Lady. So we cannot be productive and focus and learn and be curious and be imaginative if we have not fueled our brains, and the way to our brain is through our belly, right? So, when we talk about starting your day ready to learn, we're talking about breakfast. Now, a lot of schools, when we travel the state, we have been to 63 counties so far, and a lot of schools say, oh yeah, breakfast, we got that. We have universal breakfast here. What does that mean? Just means they offer it, right? Does it mean it's accessible to everybody? Does it mean it's easy to get to? What does it mean if you're late to school? And there are a lot of reasons kids are late to school. So just because you offer breakfast doesn't mean kids are eating it. And there's where we have the breakfast gap. We have a lot of kids who get free and reduced lunch, and you would think those same kids would come eat breakfast, but they don't. So what do we do about that? Do we just say, well, we checked the box, we offer breakfast, we built it and they didn't come? No, we don't say that, because look who's in the room. This is not how we operate. We need to improve access to breakfast. So, through a grant with No Kid Hungry and the Dairy Alliance, we applied to be a part of something called the School Breakfast Leadership Institute. It sounds very official. We pulled together a team of people, and we went to Chicago last summer with 8 other states and had some intensive training on how to improve access to breakfast. It's all about access. I'm not a graphic designer, but if you look at the word access, you see ACEs in there. I'm sure there's something we could do about that, because that relates to access to healthcare, to nutrition, to education, affordable housing, mental health care, all kinds of things. So we're talking about access. So this is our team. This was a partnership from the Office of the Governor, Child Nutrition Services at DPI. So we have Lynn Harvey here, whom I know you all know Lynn. I'm going to make you stand up. Lynn is an instrumental part of our team. We have Helen Roberts from No Kid Hungry, and I don't know where Helen went, but there she is. Helen's part of our team. And then our 2 other teammates couldn't be here today. We have Dr. Rob Taylor, who's superintendent of Bladen County Schools. I bow to this man. He is a force. And Kristin Guillory, who couldn't be here this morning, she ended up having a meeting, but she works in education policy in the governor's office. So we are integrating all of our voices from a perspective of a school district, the governor's office, and the Department of Public Instruction, as well as No Kid Hungry. So we can have a coordinated effort to improve access to breakfast. So, what are we doing, you might ask, right? That was your next question, so what? We took a look at data. I am admittedly not a data person. I operate in words, not in numbers, but I trust the people I work with. And our data told us there were 10 school districts who could really benefit from this grant. And what we did is we started a program where they could apply and tell us how would they use this grant money to improve what? Access. So we are working with 10 districts around the state, and what we want to do is introduce alternative breakfast models. So no more of this universal breakfast that's offered in a cafeteria in the basement or somewhere far away from the carpool line, or a place that has stigma and no older children want to go there, right? We're talking about new models to improve access to breakfast. So those are things like grab-and-go breakfast. You grab something, you walk into your classroom, everybody gets it. Everybody sits down and eats. And I don't know about you guys, but eating at the table as a family is a pillar of my family values. There is not a night we don't sit down and the boys set the table, cloth napkins on the lap, and even if we're eating French fries or like we did Friday night, ice cream sundaes for dinner, it was a treat. We sit at the table. And this is how we build community, through food. So when kids are eating together in a classroom, they're building relationships, they're building community, they're learning manners. It might be the only time in their day they get to sit together and do that. And that counts as instructional time. We're talking about social emotional development in children, and we can do that through feeding them. The other thing is in high schools, we have visited a couple schools around the state that offer a second chance at breakfast. This is brilliant. They walk through a kiosk, kids pick up their meals. A lot of them might save that for later, so between the end of the school day and sports practice, for example. And again, this removes stigma. We need to remove the shame and the judgment. We just need to get kids fed. We need to get them healthy. We have to break these cycles of poverty, and we do that through the first meal of every day. So with that, I want to say thank you for using your voices to continue this work. And I know that all of us together can ensure that no kid goes hungry in the state of North Carolina.